So let's go and see what the Income Tax Assessment Act 1997 defines person to be. And there you have it on the screen. Pretty brief, pretty simple. Person includes a company. I think right there your spidey senses should be tingling. What does that mean? Does that not strike you as a little strange? Saying, well, hey, I have the right to tax all the people and all the corporations, partnerships, trusts. I can tax them all. Why would you put such a brief definition of person? Why not just list them? Why not just say person includes a man, a woman, a child, a company, a partnership, a trust, a joint venture, anything else you want to tax? Why just say person includes a company? And with your everyday understanding of terms, you might think, well, because it says includes, that means it's everything we know I would assume a person to be plus a company. Yeah, that's not the case. And now I'm going to show you a little trick of the law that they don't tell you about. It says person includes a company. Let's just go and check what the definition of company is in the Income Tax Assessment Act. So here it is. Company means a body corporate or any other unincorporated association or body of persons. An unincorporated association is, in law, a body corporate. But I guess they've made sure they covered all the bases there. Strange they didn't cover all the bases when they were defining person. So when they say person includes a company, they're saying person includes a body corporate and any other unincorporated association or body of persons. Note, a body of persons is a plurality, not a singular. So a body of persons is not one is not a body of persons. Okay? So the definition of company doesn't include a man or a woman. And I hope you can see that. Little trick of the law that I don't want to tell you about. When you're looking at statutes, and statutes are any written law or code, there's things called rules of statutory interpretation. And these are rules the court applies to interpret the meaning of statutes. Well, here's just one of them. The inclusion of the one is the exclusion of all others. Well, what it means is that when you're describing a category of whatever, something, if you say that that category includes, and then you put a list in, then the court interprets that in a restrictive sense, not an expansive sense. So what this rule of statutory interpretation means is when you say person includes a company, the court has to interpret that in its restrictive sense, in contradistinction to its expansive sense. So person includes a company means that person is limited to a company, which we've then seen means a body corporate, okay, or an unincorporated association. Nowhere does it say it includes a single man or woman, okay. That's the rule of statutory interpretation. So that definition of person, I think it can be rewritten with the application of this rule of statutory interpretation. You can rewrite that definition of person to this. Person means a company. And company, as we've already determined, means a body corporate or an unincorporated association. Are you a body corporate or an unincorporated association? No, you're not. So right there, we see that the only entities subject to tax, income tax, are body corporates and unincorporated associations, okay, which effectively is all corporations. So a person means a corporation, however described, but it doesn't mean a living man or woman. And so a living man or woman is not subject to income tax under the Australian Code. Terminology which is written in such a way as to imply that a man or a woman is subject to income tax, but when you really, really pull it apart, you can see that actually no. What it's really saying, if you understand a little bit of law, is that income tax is only applicable to corporations. In terms of rule of statutory interpretation, on which this hinges, is that the inclusion of the one is the exclusion of all others. That rule means that in interpreting a statute, the term includes is restrictive. Okay, is there an opposite to that? Yes, there is. And the people who draft the Australian legislation, the Australian statutes, know exactly what that other term is and know to use it when they want to. And here's an example from a totally unrelated statute, nothing to do with the Income Tax Act, but here's an example of an Australian federal law where they use the opposite term to includes when they want to have an expansive interpretation in the law. So this is the following definition comes from the Privacy Act 1988, Part 2, Division 1, Section 6. Genetic relative of an individual, the first individual, means another individual who is related to the first individual by blood, including, but not limited to, a sibling, a parent, or a descendant of the first individual. That is the counterpoint, or the opposite terminology to use when you want a court to interpret a definition in an expansive fashion and to put more things into the definition rather than less. That's it there, including but not limited to. They know it exists. I mean, this is basic law, folks. This is stuff that a first-year law student learns. This is the term to use when you don't want to be restrictive in the interpretation. Okay? And just a little note, the Income Tax Assessment Act 1997 is a redraft of the Income Tax Assessment Act 1936. And the definition of person that appears in the 1997 Act is exactly the same as the definition of person that appeared in the 1936 Act. So they've been comfortable with that definition of person since 1936. And in 1997, where if they thought there was a deficiency in that definition, they had the opportunity to address that, they left it exactly as it was. Okay, so what am I saying? I'm saying only corporations have to pay income tax under the Income Tax Assessment Act 1997. And if you watch the other videos I've done on income and its definition, or lack thereof in the tax codes, you'll see that the end conclusion there is that only corporations earn income. And there's another one, which will point to the fact that only corporations have to pay tax.